And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. All aboard, because we're going to be taking some trains. We're going to be riding some trains all around the world actually. In Europe, we're going to be in Switzerland, and France and Italy and Austria and Germany. And then we're going to take a look and be riding trains all around India. We're looking at Map Collection 2 from Days of Wonder, an expansion to Ticket to Ride, which India and Switzerland map. The Switzerland map is for 2 to 3 players only. The India map's worth 2 to 4 players. And again, some interesting expansions here for Ticket to Ride. Let's take a look. Okay, we have the Switzerland map here first. Something you'll notice with this map is there's different countries on here. We have France that goes all the way around here. We have Italy around here. We have Austria. We have Germany. And then, of course, Switzerland in the middle. You'll see some double routes, and this is only a 2 or 3 player map. And the double routes only open up when you're using 3 players. The scoring of the trains is pretty much the same as the USA version. You can go up to 6 trains on a route for 15 points. The Trans-Alpine Express essentially is the longest single train, just like in the normal USA version, and it's for the same 10 points. Now let's look at the tickets, because there is some difference of the tickets here. You start with 5 of them. You have to keep at least 2 of the first 5 you get, and then later on during the game, if you get your extra tickets as your turn, you take 3 and you have to keep 1. So those are a little bit different ratios from the USA version as well. And the tickets range anywhere from 2, which is tiny because a lot of these are very close to each other, and it ranges all the way from 2 to 15. So the smallest route and the largest route. Now there's 2 special types of routes that are in this game. There's country to country, which in this case, you see that Italy is the primary country here, and from Italy you get a certain amount of points if you go to one of these other countries. Now the way this scores is that you get the points of the highest total that's available. So if I went from Italy, if I did all of these, Italy to France, Italy to Austria, Italy to Germany, I'd only get the 13 points because it's the highest one. Conversely, if I do not go to any of these, you lose the points for the smallest one. So if I don't get this, I get -6. If I get here, I get +13. Let's say I only went Italy to Austria, then I'd get 6 points for this. That is a country to country. There's also country to city, which means I would have to start from Bern and then get to any one of these countries. And so if I go Bern, same type of thing. If I don't do any of these, I lose the smallest points. If I do multiple of them, you only get the higher of the points. And then there's different points depending on how far away that city is from those countries. So there's some different types of destination tickets. Now, here's some differences as well from the USA version. Here's tunnels, which I believe are in the Europe version as well. But these are handled slightly different, I believe. In the tunnels here, we have, there's some colored tunnels here, and you know it's tunnels because they're sort of bolded and they look kind of interesting. And by the way, I've been to Switzerland and there are tunnels everywhere. So here's some colored tunnels here, and then we have some gray tunnels. So here's one big difference is the locomotive cars that are usually wild, they can only be used on tunnel routes. They cannot be used on any of these normal routes. You can no longer play a locomotive wild card on a normal route, only use them on the tunnel routes. Also, typically you can take only a face-up wild card as your only turn. Well, in this you can take 2 face-up wild cards because you can only use them on the tunnel routes. Now, with the tunnel routes, if I'm doing a red one, obviously I need to have reds, but I can use a wild as well. And no matter how long this route is, this is 4, we then, after someone claims to go here, they throw down 4 reds or any combination of 4 cards that's red or wild. And then we draw 3 cards from the deck. And if any of those 3 are red or wild, they have to come up with an additional red or wild for every one of those cards. And it doesn't matter how long the route is, you always draw 3 cards. So essentially, if it comes up, the train is going through the tunnel, it's longer than expected, and you have to come up with cards. If you come up with the extra cards, great, you place your trains and you get points for only however many spots there are, not how many cards you threw down. If you don't have enough cards to go through this longer train than expected, or if you don't want to, you can take your cards back, put them in your hand, and that's your turn. However, your opponent now knows where you're going, so they could try to then go there, which makes it very hard. Now with these routes here, only wilds you can use all wilds here as well. You could use any color, but same type of thing. Now, if you use all wilds to get someone in the tunnel, then only when those 3 extra cards are drawn, if they're wild, you have to place them. That's a little bit different how the tunnel works. Between the destination tickets being different with country and city to city, and these tunnels that are working.
And now it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
And this will be a 3-player map.
Howdy there, Cowpoke. The Game Boy Geek here.
Let's take a look.
We're gonna be in the Wild West today.
As you can see,
stealing cattle,
it's a very long
drinking
map
snake oil.
And again, this is 2 to 4 players on this map, and you'll see double routes. Double routes are only open with 4 players. Let's take a closer look. Now, one thing you'll notice here is the scoring is the same, except there is now, first of all, there's no 5. So it goes just straight from 4 route to a 6 route, and that route's 15 points as normal. But there's now an 8 route here that's 21 points. And here is that 8 route, which is gray, so you use wilds or any color like usual. Now, there is ferries, which I believe was introduced with the Europe version, and this works the same way as anywhere you see the ferries, these locomotive icons, you have to use the wild locomotives on the spots that have the locomotives, and that's how you use the ferries. Now, the tough and different thing about this board is that there's a lot of these 2s, but they're like 1 spots, but they're double routes. And remember, only with 4 players are those double routes. So in 3 or 2 players, these are all going to be little 1s. And you look at the board, and there's lots of these little choke spots all over the board. So there's going to be a lot of cramming going around through the middle of this board. You're going to have to work around a lot of people. Now, the destination tickets is, again, a little different. You get 4 to start with. You have to keep at least 2 of them. And then during the game, if you get extra tickets for your turn, you draw 3 and you keep 1. And just to show you, they range anywhere from 5 for the shortest and 17 for the longest. There's actually a lot more short ones than long ones. There's plenty of 5s and 6s. Let's talk about why and what that can do for you. Now, scoring the bonuses is what makes this map also very different. Well, first of all, this is the same. We have an Indian Express, which is the longest consistent train all the way, gets you 10 points, just like the original. But let's take a look at this a lot closer. These are sort of Grand Tour bonuses. Now, we see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we show all these little loops. And how this works is for every city that you have a destination at, let's say they're going from here to here. Normally, you just connect it with 1 route and you get the points for that destination, which you still get in this game. But if you're able to connect that destination back to the other destination without using the same trains, in a sense making a loop, you'll get one of these bonuses. For every destination card ticket that you do this with, you're going to get more bonus points. So if you did this with just this one, you'd get the destination ticket bonuses for that card. Let's say it was this one, I would get the 5 points like normal. But at the end of the game, I'm getting an additional 5 points. If I did this on 2 of my destination tickets, I'd be getting 10, 3, 20, and all the way up to 40. So if you do this for 5 of your cities, make 5 loops with different trains, you're going to get a 40-point bonus at the end, which is huge. It definitely changes the way you go, because a lot of times you want to get those smaller routes to try and just do these loops with them. So let's look at that card here, which actually is from this city to this city. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce them because I'll just do a terrible job. And so that's a normal destination ticket, and that would get us the normal 5 points that's there. So when we try to loop around, we could, from here, loop up here and come around here and come to here. That would get us the loop. You know, sometimes you have to go all the way around because the board gets crowded quite quickly. But if I had trains that went through here and then just back to there, this would not work because you can never use any of the same trains to get you back there. So as long as you use completely different trains, they can intersect, but they can't use the same trains. So as long as you have that second loop, that's how that works, and that's what makes this map extremely different. All right, well, I love Ticket to Ride. It's still one of my favorite games. I love it. I've been able to introduce this to more new gamers than any other game in my collection. It tends to get people into the hobby. I've never had it not work. Also, when I play it with very experienced players, it's still very enjoyable to me. Now, with this map, I'll tell you what, let's talk about Switzerland first. Anytime that I play a game with 2 players, specifically, 2 or 3 probably, that have played Ticket to Ride before, I'm always going to pick, this is going to be my new favorite map. I love it because it's super tight. You're going to be blocking each other a lot. It's very stressful and intense because there's only a certain ways. Like if you're going from that southwest France point to the northeast Austria point, and you're trying to get the longest train while getting that, good luck, buddy. Especially with 3, because it's just such a mess in the middle there. And so you just feel a lot more tense when playing this map. At least I did. And that's what really makes it great. The tunnels are interesting. It was kind of weird a little bit with the wild cards that you can't use wilds in anywhere else except the tunnels, which felt very weird to me, but I guess I understand why they did it. But it still felt a little weird, but all in all, I love the map. Now, there were two quirks with this map that I got to talk about that I found is that if, like, for example, one time we were playing and almost all of the yellow and orange routes were already filled up on the board, and orange and yellow were like the only cards out to take. So almost always for like the last quarter of the game, everyone was drawing off the top because nobody wanted those cards. And that was sort of like a weird quirk, I would say. And then another time when we were playing, I got that route all the way from southwest in the France all the way to northeast and then some other ones. And as I got towards the end of the game, every turn I took new cards. And I think I did it like 7 times in a row. And every time I got at least one card that either I already completed or I was like 1 or 2 trains away from completing. And because the map's so small, if you're able to get one of those big long routes, I think you're going to crush everybody. Because if you can keep doing what I did, I ended up almost with like 270 points or something ridiculous like that. And that was just a quirk. It only happened once, but 2 quirky things I saw, but it won't stop me from playing this map because, again, anytime 2 or 3 players, and they've played it before, I'm going to pick this map because it really brought a lot of tension. USA is just a little too open if you're playing with experienced gamers with 2 people, in my opinion. This is a great map for that. India. Oh man, another tenseful situation. All those little choke spots. You think of the USA map, there's like 3 or 4 choke spots where, Seattle, Portland, Nashville, stuff like that, where if you get there first, sometimes it can screw everybody else up. And in this game, there's so many of those. So there's so many routes that you want to go that you're just going to get crossed off in because there's so many of these intricate little places with these ones. So you really have to start laying trains really early and start claiming some of these routes. So that was very interesting. It just felt different. And of course, the contingency, those little loops, the Grand Tours, that's brilliant. And especially because a lot of those tickets are lower numbered point values. And I did one game where my strategy was to just grab all the lowest tickets I could grab and try to do loops. And I was able to get all 5 loops. Granted, we only played 2 players that game. All 5 loops and get the 40-point bonus, which ended up allowing me to win. But it really just gives you a completely different strategy and a different feel. It really makes it feel like Ticket to Ride is a new game again when you're trying to loop around again. So all in all, this package of 2 different maps, I love them both. And it's great because they still feel so different from the original, but yet they're still so similar. So another win here with the expansion's Ticket to Ride maps.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.